comic books made more sense. You know it is fictitious without pretense.
Hello, today we're going to be taking a look at Nintendo Comic System number 2 from 1990. This was put out by Valiant Comics, which licensed Nintendo and WWF back in the 90s, or late 80s, early 90s, to fund their Valiant project. Of course, the Valiant verse that came out after that with Magnus Robot Fighter, all that stuff. The Nintendo comics, they had Nintendo Comic System, which was sort of a slightly oversized comic. This is a regular comic, and this is Nintendo Comic System with nice cardstock covers. And they had floppy comics. They had some cardstock comics as well. I know that Mario had two series, one with cardstock, one without. And the one without was available at convenience stores, etc. The cardstock stuff like this tended to be direct sale stuff. So this is awesome. I remember picking this up on a camping trip way back when, somewhere in like Winnipeg or something. And I remember being really excited because it has all these different video game stories in it. It's got Zelda, and it calls it out here, like Captain N, which was the cartoon based on Nintendo Metroid, Super Mario Brothers Punch Out, and more. The and more stuff is more just origin things, stuff like that. So, and here's the back of it with Mario and Toad. And just to give some context, at this point, 1990, a lot of these games are either on part 1 or part 2, and that's about it. There's not really, like, I don't think Mario 3 had come out yet. I think Mario 3 is either coming out at this time, or like, you know, it's not part of these stories and everything. But these properties were white hot, even with just 1 or 2 games. So let's open it up. Here's a wrestling commercial of WCW for Nintendo with Road Warriors, etc. Here's Mario welcoming you. So Valiant was created by Jim Shooter. So I think Jim Shooter is the one writing all of this. He's just basically summing up what you're going to see in this issue, etc. 1990. So here's the origin of the Super Mario Brothers back then. So as you can see, it's all part 1 and part 2 characters. There's a part 1 character. Part 1 characters, of course, the Goombas. Part 1 characters, the Hammer Brothers. And part 2 people, the Shy Guys, you know, the Ninja. I don't know what they're called now. I'm an old guy, so, you know, the Fry Guys. I think that's what they're called. It's the same thing as the McDonald's Fry Guys. And here's all the Toadstool people. And here's Bowser. I drew Bowser a lot as a kid. Toad, the princess. So the princess puts a call out for heroes and gets these Italian plumbers. And here they are. This looks kind of like the Super Mario Bros. Super Show set. Complete with this tablecloth and everything. So here they're coming. And they're dispatching the villains much like the Mario 2 way of doing things. You just throw things. And now Luigi's throwing fireballs, but Mario's picking up a Shy Guy and gonna throw. So yeah, Super Mario Brothers 1 and 2 were the thing at this point, and Mario was white hot. So here is a Super Mario Brothers story, Betrayal Most Proper, from Marc McClellan and Billy Valley, George Wildman, P. Zurito, and Jade the Gradations. I don't know what that is, if it's a company or something. So here's a big splash page. They created characters here. So Wooster was not part of the Mario thing that I remember. And I don't know if he's like part of new games and stuff. I think he's a comics creation. Here's the king. It's supposed to be Princess Peach's father. And I get mixed up because I'm from a different time. So I get Peach and Toadstool and Daisy all mixed up. I think Daisy was Super Mario Land. That's a completely different Actually, what do they call the princess here? Princess Toadstool. Okay, so it's Princess Toadstool here. Yeah, I mean they went through different names with the princess. So the king gets mad easily, fires Wooster, and then wonders where Wooster is. Toad says, "Oh, Wooster's been kidnapped." The king doesn't care about getting him back, and Mario and Toad take it upon themselves to go after um, Wooster. Here's some Mario 3 blocks here, so that's interesting. Um, so here they go through a warp that's a Mario 2 warp, and they fight all these shy guys and everything. And here's more Mario 2 villains. And Wooster is waiting on Bowser hand and foot. So Mario and Toad are still like fighting their way to the throne room, and they come in and everyone's asleep, and they find out that Wooster overfed them so that they can all sleep, so the whole entire like castle is asleep. And so they rescue Wooster. That was Wooster's plan all along when he got kidnapped. They go through the Mario 2 warp again and come back. The king is afraid of his daughter because she's wondering why he fired Wooster. So then he runs into the broom closet. As a kid, I found this kind of it's kiddie, it's kid friendly. It's silly, but you know it's still on brand Mario stuff, so I enjoyed it. Here's the Captain N origin, and usually these origins are 2 pages. This is George Cargoni, Bob Layton, Ken Lopez, Art Nichols, and John Cibolero. So I don't think I bought the Captain N comic, but it looks like they made a little change here. So here's Kid Icarus, here's Mac. But I think so. In the cartoon, I know that the roster was Mega Man, who's not here, Kid Icarus, Simon Belmont, who looks to have been replaced by Samus here. Here's Donkey Kong as he was back then, looking a lot like the DIC version from the cartoon Captain N. Here's Mother Brain from Metroid. Here's Eggplant Wizard from Kid Icarus, and King Hippo looking like the DIC way. All these people looking like the DIC way from Punch Out. And so they need a hero, and they get this guy who's playing video games at home and goes in playing Super Mario Brothers. And here's the team, but this wasn't really the team from the cartoon. I guess they couldn't get the rights from Capcom and Konami for Mega Man and Simon Belmont, respectively. So here's the story by George Cargoni, Dennis Woodyard, John Harpies, and Jade Kingman Hui. All right, so there you go. So Princess Lana is princess of video game land and has all these different video game lands based on video games, etc. And she installed like a security system, which is corrupted by Mother Brain, and switches up the enemy being Lana. So then Mother Brain's people attack at this point. So it's all a big ruse, right? It's all a big plan. And the security system takes Lana and knocks her unconscious. And so the hero has to go and defeat the machine, etc. Now, where's the rest of the team exactly? I mean, they can't use most of this team, and there's no Kid Icarus here. You'll see Samus later in her own thing. like a Metroid comic story. But here, like he defeats Mother Brain and then reprograms it so it sends them all packing. Kisses the unconscious princess, which was a trope that's now problematic from fairy tales, etc., and everything's back to normal. And you could see throughout this comic, he has all the accoutrement that that Nintendo had put out, like the zapper gun, looking exactly like the zapper gun. He has a control pad as a belt, etc. In some ways, Captain N was designed to promote Nintendo. I think maybe I'm hallucinating this. I think at one point the Max Advantage was in the cartoon. I could be mistaken. I know that in season 2 or something, they had Game Boy literally as a character. It was a Game Boy with a face on it to sell the Game Boy. It's an interesting, weird cartoon. That was totally designed to sell Nintendo products. So here's Punch Out. Here's the origin of Punch Out by George Cargoni, Donald Hudson, Ken Lopez, Art Nichols, and Diane Dua. So it's basically Rocky. I mean, Mac is down on his luck. He gets trained by Doc. These guys are all from the game. That's from the game, of course. And then he defeats Glass Joe, I guess. and then that's the origin. So here, this is made by Brian Dealey's, Don Hudson, Bob Layton, and Jade the Gradations. So, Fox and Hounds. So this is probably the best story in this issue to me. They should have made more Punch-Out comic stories. There wasn't a Punch-Out comic that I know of. It's just in stuff like Nintendo Comics and Stories, right? So here, Mac is fighting Super Macho Man. And let me try and get the next page. These are dry pages. This is an old comic, so he's fighting him, and meanwhile, this rich woman is enamored by Mac. Her boyfriend, or whatever that guy is jealous already, and she's like, oh, simply wonderful, and tonight I plan to meet my noble gladiator face to face. So Doc is riding Mac, even though Mac won the match. Doc is giving him lots of criticisms. It's like, the fight game is tough, and if you want to get anywhere in it, you better listen to what I tell you. So he's like, no, like I won, I don't have to listen to all your guff. So he leaves, and then he's seduced by this rich woman who takes him out on a town over the next week or so. He goes to a fancy restaurant, and he asks for cheeseburgers. Funny enough, they probably have cheeseburgers now. Things have changed. He's introduced to all her rich friends, and they see him as a zoo animal, right? Like, he's so primal. Isn't he fabulous? So powerful, so delightfully different, And while he's in this penthouse suite or whatever, he's looking out to see his gym, and meanwhile the boyfriend's plotting against him. So the boyfriend came up with this plan, this big media circus where Mac would fight from one end of the city to the other. There'd be 100 guys with boxing gloves, and he'd fight a big bad at the end, sort of like a beat 'em up. and Doc is not impressed with this. It's like, and it sounds like a blasted fox hunt. With you as the fox, I'm your manager, and I say forget it. And so they argue about this, and Mac takes it. But Doc is like, to see them make a chump out of you, no thanks. Go on, give them their circus, but don't expect me to sweep up after it. So Mac is thinking all these rich people are his friends. That's the problem. Meanwhile, the boyfriend goes to Super Macho Man and says, like, fight him at the end. And if something should happen to Lil Mac, like he can't fight anymore, there'll be a little bonus in it for you, and he loves that. He wants a rematch. He wants to destroy him. So here it is, and they're reporting on it and everything, and he's fighting guys across. This is awesome, by the way. So all these guys have boxing gloves and they're after him as he fights his way through the city, and he's in an alleyway here that's out of camera range, and that's when Super Macho Man throws a net on him, and all these guys wail on Lil Mac. And Doc comes to the rescue and chases them away. And he's like, Doc, it's you. Of course, you need me. Did you think the high society types were going to fight fair? He's like, don't talk to me about my that way about my friends. It must have been some kind of mix-up. Like, son, what's mixed up is you. You're a fighter, not a sideshow. And Mac is coming around, but he still has to finish this. So Doc is like, you know what? Keep your guard up, okay? Please. So Mac fights his way to the end, and he meets Super Macho Man. And he's learning, he's remembering what Doc told him, like, guard up, keep my guard up, like Doc said. And he defeats Super Macho Man. And then this guy comes out and gives up, the secret. He's like, you incompetent dolt, get up. I paid a fortune for you to stop him. You can't let him win. And then Mac understands now. He's like, relax, Reg. I don't want to win. And he's like, I was stupid to think you people were my friends. I'm just a sideshow to you. Keep your lousy prize. I'm going back where I belong. And she's like, Mac. And then she punches him. This is very 80s. Most movies ended with someone punching someone for being a jerk. And then Mac is like, Doc, I'm sorry. And Doc's like, forget it. Nice fighting, kid. Of course, that overhand right was a little sloppy. This is the best story in this. I really enjoyed this. And it's, once again, they should have made a whole Punch-Out comic. I would have totally read that. And, there's all sorts of things you can do because there's different guys in Punch-Out. So, different matches to train up for and everything. This is the origin for Legend of Zelda. Another 2-pager by George Cargoni, Rodney Ramos, Jade, and Art Nichols, and Jay Jackson. So here's Hyrule, Ganon attacks, Zelda has to keep the Triforce protected, sends this... Now this character, I don't know if this character was around in the games. I don't remember her, and maybe she's around now, but she goes after a hero, finds Zelda, who helps her, and he tries to, get with, not Zelda, sorry, Link. And Link tries to get with Zelda, and then Ganon comes, and that's the, and I love this line, and thus the legend ends and the adventure begins. I love that. So this story, Queen of Hearts, is George Cargoni, Paris Cullens, Don Perlin, Jade, and the Gradations. So, these guys are fighting. I don't even think this is Ganon. Ganon will reward us, so it's like some other dude. But all these guys are from the game, except for her. So they're attacking her. Zelda and Link fight off these dudes, and it's revealed to be someone from Link's past. And Link says, "May I present Her Most Serene Royal Highness Selene, beloved monarch of my homeland, Kalashia. This is Princess Zelda of Hyrule, Your Highness." So I don't know if this... I don't play modern Zelda stuff. I don't know if all of that is canon to, like, his homeland and all that is canon to these Zelda games. So she remembers Zelda from when she was a kid. So they go to this, to the palace. The father is enamored by Selene, and they're spending a lot of time together. But the problem is, Selene's powers have been stolen by Ganon, and they're after her, and she hasn't told them any of this. So she needs one of the Triforces to fight off these guys and get her powers back. So she steals the Triforce, and Zelda's like, she's a traitor. And Celine's like, listen, like, you need to come with me. If Link comes with me, I've foreseen that he'll fall. And Link is like, you know what? I'm going whether or not I fall. I don't care. Because he's a brave hero, right? And Zelda's like, if you go, Link, you're a traitor. And so he goes, and then she does fire at him. You leave me no choice. And Link is like, yeah, she meant it. But Zelda never misses. So, like, she missed on purpose, right? I like the horse is stunned too. Huh? So they fight off all these guys, and Link fights them with the blast from his sword, like in the game. So they keep getting attacked and all that. And I like this little exchange here. It's like Zelda's like, she's gone, and she took that traitor Link with her. And the father's like, listen to me, that boy loves you more than all the world. And Celine does too. So they go into a cave and they fight all these guys and stuff. This is the little jar that has her powers. And now, so they do defeat Link. He's not dead yet. And Zelda comes out of nowhere and destroys the jar. And the powers return. So she's like, now you'll learn a little bit more about magic. And then she turns all these guys into frogs. She's not going to kill them because it's a comic for kids, right? So, anyways, everyone's happy and reunited and all that. So there you go. Can you ever forgive me? And it's like, I care for you more than you'll ever know. I'll grow up strong and wise, and you'll be queen of the land someday. And then she takes off. This is a great story too. Probably second best in this. Comics for Nintendo fans. So here they're telling you about all these comics. Here's Super Mario Brothers promoting 3. So I think 3 had just come out. That's why the story that we saw was just 1 and 2. And so now they're like, oh yeah, like Raccoon Mario and all that. Legend of Zelda, Captain N, the Game Master, with a lot of characters missing. And Game Boy, that was mostly a Super Mario Land comic. They call it Game Boy, but Super Mario Land was a game exclusive to Game Boy, which was another Mario game. It was a little different than usual, but the whole Mario Land series lived on Game Boy. Every month from Valiant, on sale at many fine stores in your area. Ask for them. So here's the Metroid origin. It's 2 pages. It's Samus. Most of this is from the game. She joins this Galactic Federation police force, and then from there she joins the ranks of the Star Trackers, and they get these suits. She leaves, and then she becomes a bounty hunter, and meanwhile space pirates discover these Metroids, and they overtake them. They try to like get them to work for them, but they overtake like planets and stuff. So Samus goes after them, and here's the Metroid asteroid. Thus began Samus Aran's most famous assignment, leading her to fame, fortune, and many more dangerous adventures. And here's a 1-pager just about the Metroid planet itself from Part 1. At this point, Part 2 had not come out, and Metroid was white hot still. They were making these brands work. Metroid 2, I think, came out in 92, and I think it was on like Game Boy. So at this point, all kids know is Metroid, but they're crazy for it. And here's a comic. They never made a Metroid comic. Just comic stories and Nintendo comics and stories. So they show you different segments of the Metroid planet. Deceit du jour. This is from Marc McClellan and Bill Valley, Vince Milkerick, Bob Layton, Jade, Joe Q, and the Gradations. So this character here, so these guys are Metroids from the game, and this is a Mother Brain. looking more like the DIC version. This character is completely made up. It's a bounty hunter. Another bounty hunter that I think the name's Big Time. So anyways, Big Time wants to get Samus. I think he's hired to do this. So here's Samus in the Metroid world and shooting all these Metroids and everything. There she is. Big Time goes after her. That's a cool shot. Like grabbing onto this. They fight. Still stealing my jobs just like old times. Well, things have changed, Samus. So they're fighting more Metroids. That's awesome. Then Big Time turns on Samus, and they fight with laser blasters and all that stuff. Is awesome. So, anyways, Samus, if you come with us, you have a small but real chance at survival. So she surrenders. They go to Mother Brain, and all this stuff is from the games. It's awesome. So, anyways, Samus defeats all these guys, and then they take away Big Time, and that's it. This was cool. They should have made a whole Metroid comic. That would have been awesome too. Here's an ad for the start, perhaps, of the Valiant verse. Only one man can save the future. It's Magnus Robot Fighter, on sale August 16th. Of course, a character dusted off from the Silver Age, and this was the real goal. As I understand, Jim Shooter licensed like wrestling and Nintendo to fund this bigger project. And there you have it. Nintendo Comics and Stories. Rarely seen nowadays. I hope you enjoyed this.